This podcast contains potentially adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly sexual context. Listener discretion is advised. Okay, welcome to Drinking with Authors, the literary briefs edition, which means we're already drunk before we start this. I'm your host, Erica Lance. My co-host today is C.R. Rice, and our guest today is the amazing Winnie Winkle. Woo! Let's talk about, in proper Drinking with Authors swag, I am drinking from Skunk Brothers Spirits Viking Lightning and Lemonade, which is an albeit amazing yet probably terrible concoction that I should not have put together for myself. But it's amazing. Don't forget DWA10. It's our coupon code. Buy from them. They're awesome. CR, what are you drinking today?
I was just admiring your little rant right there. I am doing green tea and vodka.
A healthy alternative. Winnie, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking Whiskey Acres. Okay, there we go. Whiskey Acres bourbon out of Illinois, which is an excellent bourbon because it actually comes from the same artesian stream that runs into St. Louis when it comes through Illinois. So if you were in Illinois in the middle of a whole shit ton of corn, stop at this place.
That's amazing. Amazing. Okay, here we go. Rapid fire. What is your favorite book of all time?
I'm going to go with Charms of the Easy Life by Kay Gibbons. I absolutely love Kay Gibbons. Just a phenomenal Southern voice. And that book had everything for me. It was spare. Every word mattered. It wasn't like in your face Southern story, but it's like the details where you picked up all of the stuff. And it was a generational story with granddaughter, daughter, grandmother, or mother, grandmother, daughter.
There are 3 grandmothers in this story no, just kidding.
And I really loved the fabulous way that those 3 relationships were told about the story, but they weren't necessarily what was important in the story. They kind of drove the base that supported all of the great elements in that story. Kay Gibbons has struggled with some mental health issues, but God, she didn't write very many books, but the books that she wrote were profoundly beautiful.
Very cool. What about your least favorite book?
Well, I don't really have one. I've had several books where I didn't finish them because they just weren't well written. I think for me, my is they cross the line. Like if I'm reading a book, because I pick up anything and start to read it, I'm curious. But if it's like got pedophilia or especially if it's like joyful in it, anything that's like Squick Factor 9000, I'm out. So it's like they're gone from my memory. It's like, ugh. So I don't really have a book that I didn't like. There was a short story now, Jack London's To Build a Fire, horrified me. It absolutely horrified me. This is just that whole slow plod, why he tried to talk himself into survival when he was dying. I know men love this story, and I got done with To Build a Fire, and I was just like, ooh, because to me it was like, I just didn't like the way it felt.
Interesting. So the answer to do you finish books regardless is no, right? Like if you're done, you're done.
Well, if the writing is bad, I'm out. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be snobby. I'm really not. But we're inundated with a lot of writing that is not on the curve yet. And what I mean by that is writers that they're still learning their craft, and they should not have published, but because we are wingers ourselves, you don't always have all the advice or all the information in place to know when you should hold back. And there's that first book kind of birthing thing where it's just like, oh my God, I wrote this book. I'm so sick of this book. I'm publishing this book. And the book is like, hi, I'm a toddler and I'm going to destroy your house. So it really screws up your catalog, but we all have our paths. So, but yeah, poor writing.
What if you love the story idea? Like I have sometimes where like I try to hang out as long as I can, because when you read the book blurb and you go through and you're like, this idea is amazing, and like do you try to cling in just to see if it gets put together? Because I have done that where I've read one where it started out and I was just like, this is terrible, but I loved the idea. And as it got closer to the end of the book, it's like they figured out what the hell they were doing and it was okay. But then I've also had the ones where it's like they fucking forgot what they were writing about.
Well, it takes some stuff for me to not finish a book, just because I'm all about, I look at every time I read somebody else's craft as a learning opportunity for me. I don't ever want to copy somebody else's craft, but what I like to do is understand where that story turned, or how they saw that character evolve or grow, or maybe that character gave up. All of those things are turning point moments. And so I'll read a book to see what an author did. But honestly, if it's a vapid-headed female character, you've lost me, because women are brilliant. And I'm, if her nipples are doing things, you've lost me. Nipples don't move. Nipples just sit there in your bra and wish they could be anywhere else. And
in today's show, nipples don't do things. I'm going to take that. I'm trademarking it. Nipples do not do things. Thank you very much for being on Drinking with Authors.
So yeah, it's like sometimes I'll read it through. It's like the slow writing's torture agony thing, and because sometimes there is a reward at the end. And I don't want to ever criticize somebody for stepping off the cliff and making their shot. Right?
No, I agree. I can't. You both are a lot nicer than me. If I get to a point where it's pushing me into the story or the grammar is so terrible, like I can't. I just can't, because I become focused on that and not the actual story that's being told. What about your favorite book to a TV show or movie?
Well, it's funny. I have read, I should say. I haven't picked him up in a while, but I'm a big Stephen King fan. I was in high school in the late 70s. I read him voraciously through the 70s and 80s. And I really loved The Green Mile.
Oh.
And they changed it a lot. But I think what they did was pretty good, because instead of having to go back and forth like it does in the book, they just had the current time in the beginning and the current time in the end, and then they let that story roll. In a film or setting, that actually worked really well, because you have different characters and you got really invested in all of them, good or bad, and then you kind of pop back up at the end, and the beautiful little scene with the old mouse, and I really like the way they handled that, because to do what she did in the book would probably not have been as good of a movie.
That makes sense. What about one that they didn't do so well with?
Oh my God, Janet Ivanovich. What the fuck? They had a great, fabulous series. Super snarky lead. Stephanie Plum is a great character. And they had Robert Heigl in the thing. He's amazing. And then the writers are all like, the writers ruined it. That movie was so shittily written. And it could have been like, and I'm sure Janet Ivanovich is drinking with us as like mother, you know, because they ruined 8 movies, you know. But that was just a crime, and it took so long to get it made. It's like, oh my, you know, women would have ate that up. That would have been, you know, like the chick flick series blockbuster for generations, and they screwed it up.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I feel that happens. For me, that happens more often than not when they take stuff. What about oh wow, I just lost. Okay, Sierra, you're on, because that was the end of my apparent brain cell work right now.
If you could be any main character, but you have to live their timeline, who would you be?
You know, there are an awful lot of garbagey books, not so much books, but garbagey movies and films that, are we talking about films or books?
Books.
Books.
Oh, okay. This sounds like shameless self-plugging, and I'm sorry, but I really want to be Cleopatra O'Keeffe. I just do.
I think that's why a lot of authors come up with their characters. You create a person that you want to be. Like if you could create some fanatical world and just go bananas. And
Well, what I really like about her is that she's got this whole sense of, she got handed this job. It's probably going to kill her. And yeah, she got some money and stuff, some perks to do it. But she's literally the conscience of the world. And she's got such a sense of just kind of feisty fatalism. It's just like, oh, well, okay, let's do it, you know? And I like that because she doesn't shirk from it. She's not like, I don't want this job, fuck this job, you know? She's more like, well, okay, how am I going to do that? And I love it because it's just so clean. It's like, great. I got up this morning. This is who I am. I'm going to run as hard as I can. And that makes me happy. You know, I think that women do that every single day and nobody gives a shit. It's like you get up in the morning and the kid pukes all over the car seat, and then, you know, there's 12 other things going on and your boss is being a dick. And, you know, you just get through all of that and you get home and everybody's raising an eye for pizza again. And you're just like, yeah, but we're having sex. You know? And it's like women do this shit all the time and nobody notices because we're so freaking good at it. It's like everything keeps rolling because we are freaking
Superheroes. Superheroes. Okay. You're a pantser. I'm a pantser. I do understand the pantsing. Lots of pants. My question for you is, do you, when you're looking at a story, do you know where it's going to end? So for me on pantsing, I get an idea for a story and then I decide how it's going to end. And then I build the story from that. How do you do it?
When I was first starting to publish, I would write 65 to 70% of my book, and then I would stop. I would read the whole thing over, and I would do rough points so that I would close all the storylines, and then I would write that. And there could be variations in there, but as long as I didn't leave any open hanging lines, I hate that myself. When I read a story and I'm like, but what about Joe? You know, I hate that shit. So that was my fear, was I was going to get the what about Joe email times 16 or whatever, because I was brand new and didn't know how many I'd get. But what I have found is that I grew in my growth as an author. It's more that I can trust that it's going to get there. So for me, I don't even plan an ending thing, but I give myself a kind of a get out of jail free card with that because I'm going to be able to go back and edit anything that's got a little sideways. Um, because it doesn't matter. I'm a storyteller. I'm telling you a story. And if it's not perfect the first time, by the time I present it to Your Majesty the court, it's gonna fucking rock because I don't want to lose my head. So we're good, you know?
No, that's good. Do you end up with a story graveyard at all? You start down a path on a story and then you're like, this is arrived absolutely nowhere and therefore it will be retired temporarily.
I honestly have never, like I said, I write pretty thin. I mean, my words are pretty tight, and I've never hit that. Now, I'm not saying I won't, but I haven't yet. I do regularly like go back each writing. I try to write 15 to 2,000 words a day, and I try to write between 7,500 and 8,000 words a week.
Mm-hmm.
I try to take 2 days off to enjoy my life and switch on my guy and make things work. In terms of balance, not in terms of with him. He and I are perfect. So, but and it only took me 60 years, ladies, to get that. I just found it. So, we're together 18 months. Married.
Awesome.
But now it's good. I know a lot. But anyway, so when I'm writing it, it's more that I guess I just trust the process. I figure I'm going to get there, and I'm confident enough when I do my final editing and read through, and I spend about 2 weeks on that. Make sure that I feel like I pulled my story in my voice, and it's clean, it's ready to go. There's not going to be sloppiness. I'm not paying Jenny to be sloppy. I'm paying Jenny to the story thing. So that's on me to get it right.
Yeah.
But
what about short stories? Do you do short stories?
I've written one, which sounds like, but it's actually a beautiful story, and it's available for free on my website. It's called Dancing with Solandia, and I had to write a short, clean, and I thought, okay, well, I can totally do that. Except I ended up writing, I think, kind of a literary with a romance element to it. And I'm stupidly proud of that little story. It's like 70,000 words. And I'm just like, it's beautiful. I mean, back in the 70s, I would have submitted it to Better Home and Gardens.
Nobody knows what that is anymore.
I don't understand what that was, but I laughed because everybody else laughed.
Yeah, Better Homes and Gardens was a magazine that everybody who had a house wanted to be in because they take pictures of houses and gardens, and that's what you looked up to when you were like looking at suburban life. This is the house you wanted to have, or this is the whatever. And they had stories, and it was a women's magazine that, yeah, it's definitely not something that would be as popular now.
Well, the thing is I use that as more of an idea that you would have been leaping through the living rooms and then come across this story and been like, oh, okay, back to the living room, you know? Like the good pause. It wasn't a Reader's Digest type thing. It was more of a really good story. I mean, I would put it out, I would submit it to the Sun, you know, if they were taking things that were not published, that were published in the past, because the quality of the writing is great. And I don't mean like I'm a great writer. What I mean is that particular story hit that spot where it's just like, this really makes me a happy writer. And so I like to give it away for free because I think that readers of any genre can kind of connect. It's the perfect, well, there's no like fantasy paranormal in it, but it's if you like good writing, and you read that, you might try something else.
That's very cool. What about reviews? What have reviews been like for you?
You know, I've gotten some, like I think Boogie Beach is like 26. Haven't had a book that's just like slayed, but I also don't like go doing the reviews or trying to an Amazon POS and not get in too much trouble. But at the same time, I feel like that kind of stuff is organic, because even though Boogie Beach has been out for almost a year, it's still garnering reviews. So I'm gonna just let it roll. The reviews that I've gotten have all been really pretty good. Most of the books are over 4, and a lot of them are like over 4.5 or 6. So I don't know. That's such a shady thing. I mean, I get hit up on Instagram all the time from people that want to review my work. Just send me books. Is that what people do?
No, I think that a lot of that stuff is how authors get into traps and pitfalls. Is I'll review your book, I'll publish your book on my Twitter, 25,000 followers. And, I, as a young fledgling author, like 10, 12 years ago, now I don't even remember, I'm just going to put that date on it. I did one of those Twitter campaigns because I was like, oh, that sounds cool, they'll do that. It ended up with absolutely nothing. And so now I warn authors all the time that, what sounds too good to be true generally is too good to be true. You can obviously get art copies out there, and there are different sites that have legitimate, like you can put an art copy up and they have to do reviews, and they, show that whether it's on Goodreads or whatever. Like there are definitely some legitimate ways in which to get reviews or find, your readers group or whatever, your beta readers, that sort of thing. But if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. It's different if another author comes along and is like, hey, let's do a swap, you take over my Facebook, I'll take over yours. You can do that, but I think you got to be careful of that. I have 40 billion followers, and if you give me $400, you can talk to all of them.
Well, I have plenty of those pitches. And another thing I'm really trying to do is I want my readers, because I'm starting to blend the newsletter 3 different genres of readers, is that I'm hoping to be able to cultivate a tribe that's going to want to review books of mine that they've read. And, if there's 9,000 of them and 5,000 read romance and 2,000 read fantasy and 1,000 literary fiction, they're all going to have those dedicated folks that are going to be in there doing it. I heard from one of my newsletter people today from the United Kingdom that went up on Boogie Beach, and she sent me a copy of the review. Thank you.
Newsletter readers will get very engaged. Newsletter readers absolutely will get engaged, and they want to hear about stuff. So I think that's a great way to do it, and to build your sort of core fan group that are the people that'll go out and review. Do you review books?
Infrequently. I'm put myself on such a pace these last. I'm not reading at my normal level. I've read. I mean, I threw a couple on BookBub today, and I'll do some on Goodreads, a few on Amazon. But I bet I haven't reviewed 20 books this year. And I know that that's part of it. It's kind of a quid pro quo thing, but at the same time, I'm in like the infancy of the business. I think I will write until I'm 70. So I've written for 2.5 years. I'm going to write for another 10. And I think that I'm going to get to the point where that, maybe in the next year or two, where that balance of giving back starts to really manifest. Because it's okay to put time into yourself. It's okay to put time into your business. And I refuse to feel guilty for doing that, because I know that's what my business needs right now. But I'm a peaceful, giving person, and so to not get that at some point wouldn't work for me either. I'm just not quite there yet. So I mean,
Does,
I drop
does the
them.
review have to be above 3 stars when you do give them? How does that work for you? Like,
Well, I know Goodreads has put a great deal of effort into saying 3-star review is really, really good. But as a buyer, no. So I try to leave a 4 or 5. And if the book is just riddled with issues, I'll try to find a way to private message an author and say, here's what I found. You need to clean up your copy and reload to help you out, because I'm not going to leave a review, but unkind people will. I think it's always about supporting each other. And because we're in a transitional time I've got this little thing over my head and I realize I have a little star, so I'm trying to navigate that. Maybe I'll just stand up straight. Okay, here I am. What I think we need to do is find ways to build each other up rather than tear each other down. And indie authors are like in an interesting transition in the industry itself. What's changing in traditional publishing is seen as something they have to react against, but indie authors are not bound together. So what our power isn't recognized as a power. And I'm hoping that over time we're realizing that we have the dog by the tail. You know, we are wagging the little freaking publishing dog. Just do that. And but it's such a big group of people. And they come from all over the world, different cultures and different cultures and different understandings of what is normal. So they use it against us. But at some point, we have to take our businesses and our power for what we want that to be and do the best thing we can to drive our book sales and be the new author, because it's changing. We've talked several times tonight about my references are old-fashioned and nobody's said them. Literally nothing about publishing. Nobody's going to get it in 20 years. It's all going to be.
that's very, very true. And I cannot think of a better place to end. That is so awesome. Tell people how to find your books again.
I'm at www.winkles.com. I have an all books tab there, but I'm also on Amazon, Apple, Kobo, Barnes and Noble, and your for go to your local library and ask them to stock my books, because I am on overdrive.
Very, very cool. Thank you so much for being on this podcast with us today. You have been so much fun and so awesome, and I really appreciate you.
Cheers.
Cheers. And this, wow, I'm fine tonight. I'm doing good. I don't even have any left in this cup, so.
I saw you finish it the last time you took a drink, so I was wondering if you had like sneakily poured something or how far this was gonna go.
No, I don't think this should go any farther than this because I'm trying to wrap up the podcast and I totally forgot what the hell I was doing. So go, Erica. Anyway, this has been Drinking with Authors, Literary Briefs Edition. I have been your host, Erica Lance. Our sponsor tonight has been Skunk Brothers Spirits, DWA10. It's your 10% off code with that. My co-host has been CR Rice. And our amazingly fun guest has been Winnie Winkle. And we will see you guys next time.